We're all set now.
Great. Good morning, everybody. Welcome back. And I'm thrilled to call to order the November meeting of the Outreach and Engagement Committee. Stephanie, would you do a roll call, please?
Of course, good morning. Ava Bermudez Zimmerman,
Present.
thank you. Isha will not be joining us. Adrian Cochran has not joined us yet. Sheila Hummel. I think Sheila in right now. We'll come back to her. Molly Weston Williamson,
Present.
Kristen Bartman,
Present.
and go back to Sheila Hummel.
Present.
All right, thank you. We have a quorum.
Thank you, Stephanie, and thank you so much to everyone for joining us today. I'd like to take a moment here to just acknowledge any members of the public who have joined us. I think we have one or two. Thank you for joining us on this lovely November morning. And with that, I will move ahead to the first item of business, which is review and approval of the October minutes. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve October minutes.
Thank you, Sheila. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Justin. Any discussion? Okay. Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, I believe the ayes have it. Thanks so much, everyone. The minutes are approved. And with that, I will turn it over to Jessica for our first round of updates.
Thank you, Molly. Good morning.
We can see your screen, Beth.
Thank you. All right. So the first thing I wanted to share is in last month's meeting, I played for you our first, oh, you know what? Hold on, let me stop sharing for a second. I always forget to enable the sound sharing. Okay, let's try this again. All right, so last month I shared with you the first of our user-generated content videos for social media. We have two others ready, one employee, as well as the other one was employee and employer. So I wanted to share these two with you. Let's see if my links work appropriately. I'll start with this one first.
Connecticut Paid Leave has had a huge impact on my small business. It's more than just a policy. It's a way that I can keep and care for the best employees that I've ever had. Take Sharon, for instance. She's celebrating 10 years with us. Connecticut Paid Leave is entirely employee funded.
I don't see anything moving on the screen.
See, I can offer my...
Oh, sorry. Hold on. Let me...
It's okay. I just wanted to let you know.
Okay, so you see the screen, but it's not moving. It's not playing.
Correct. That's what I see.
The audio.
Okay. I know what I did wrong. Sorry. Hold on a second. I'll tell you what, you know, for all the years of using Zoom, I don't know why I still have such trouble sometimes. Okay, let me try again. It's because I shared just my presentation and not my entire screen. That's the issue. Now, can you see the green screen? The green. Okay, let's try this again. Sorry about that.
Connecticut Paid Leave has had a huge impact on my small business. It's more than just a policy. It's a way that I can keep and care for the best employees that I've ever had. Take Sharon, for instance. She's celebrating 10 years with us. Connecticut Paid Leave is entirely employee funded and allows me to compete with the big guys. See, I can offer my employees paid family and medical leave when they need it. Connecticut Paid Leave works for my small business. Find out how it can work for yours.
All right, now let's see if I can get the other one to play.
If you're expecting, then you have a lot on your plate. You're preparing for a newborn baby, you're stocking up on diapers, you're assembling cribs and strollers, and you're staying on top of all your normal responsibilities, all while trying to get rest. Connecticut Paid Leave makes the process seamless so that you can check one thing off of your to-do list. Connecticut Paid Leave works for me. Visit connecticutpaidleave.org for more.
So those are our two new videos, and where'd my cursor go now? Okay, there we go. And so I wanted to share those two with you because not only are they standalone videos that are targeted towards the appropriate audiences, but they're also part of the larger theme of our campaign right now, which is CT Paid Leave Works. So we're wanting to focus on how it works for employees, how it works for employers. And so these are some examples of some of the social media ads that pull both of those together. So this top one, for example, is a scrolling carousel. So they would see the image of the woman and child, and then moving to supporting workers as they recover, then onto the employer, keeping small businesses competitive, with the overarching message of CT Paid Leave works for everyone. So I wanted to show you those two pieces so that you can kind of see how it's coming together. And then the idea is that we will take a concept like this and we will we'll also use that for our outdoor and some of our other advertising tactics. Thank you for bearing with my technological problems this morning. Another newer thing that we're doing that I wanted to bring up is we are working with White Eagle Media. So they own both White Eagle newspaper, which is the Polish language newspaper in the state, as well as La Visión, which is a newer publication for them. It's Spanish language. And we're going to be working with La Tribuna, which is a really interesting and unique publication in the Danbury area that publishes in Portuguese, English, and Spanish. And the really neat thing about them is instead of doing like a whole publication in English and then a whole publication in Spanish, it's all intermingled, right? So I'm really excited about these, not that we haven't worked with them before, but this new partnership, because in addition to advertising, they're also all giving us the opportunity to put a series of articles into their papers. So this is the first one that went out. This is in La Visión. So you can see our ad, which I circled. And then they also took the piece that Erin did with CT Mirror, where she did an interview, and they put the Spanish version in. Moving forward, we will be actually writing the articles so that we can focus on different topics. So, you know, things pertaining to these particular audiences, like, for example, if you need to go out of the country for caregiver leave because your family member lives overseas, CT Paid Leave will enable you to do that. So we're going to pick really specific topics that will appeal to these audiences. So this is something new that we've just started this month and we'll be going for a 6-month run. Quick update on different events. We have been out and about all over the place over the past several weeks. So we had presence at the CBIA Employment Law Conference. Was that, I think it was just last week or 2 weeks ago. We also were at the Connecticut Nurses Association Annual Convention at Mohegan Sun. We've started a new partnership with Access Health, where we are strategically going to their open enrollment fairs and setting up a table so that we can distribute information to folks who are coming in to work with their patient navigators to sign up for coverage. So Nancy was at one in Hartford, and I was just at one in New London. Yesterday, I went up to Putnam and I presented to a group of the Northeastern Connecticut Human Resources Association. And also yesterday, Amber and Michael Caesar did a presentation for the U.S. Department of Labor Wage and Hour Division to address some of the questions that they receive about Connecticut paid leave and get information on where to direct people when those questions come in. Tomorrow, Maddie and I will be doing a presentation for 1199. Was supposed to be in person, but we switched to virtual because they have a lot of folks quarantining right now for COVID. And then Nancy and Maddie will also be up in Hartford at the Connecticut Nonprofit Alliance annual conference the beginning of December. Maddie has some other events that we've been involved in that she's going to talk about. So just to give you sort of an idea of, you know, I think we're doing a good job kind of blanketing the state and getting to employers, employees, different groups of people. So we're really happy with the outreach we've been able to do, especially in person recently. And then lastly, and I'm sad that Isha isn't here because she's the one that spurred me to put this together, a comparison of our website statistics. I looked at October of this year versus October of last year. I wanted to do that instead of kind of the partial month, because it encompasses our end of the grace period for third quarter, so we could see what that comparison looks like. And I was very pleased with the numbers. So our total users increased by almost 2,000. Our sessions increased by about 20,000. Page views, I double checked. I said, wow, like that's a really big increase in page views. And then average session duration relatively flat. So my takeaways from this, we're getting more users to the site, which indicates to me that awareness of the program is growing. Greater sessions, so those users are returning more frequently, which is, I think, a good thing, meaning, you know, if they are discovering that they still have questions, they're coming back to us to find out more. They're visiting a lot more pages on the site, which is great because, as you all know and have heard us talk about, we put a lot of effort into redesigning the site and making sure that we were really communicating the information in many different ways. And so that seems to be translating because people are looking at a lot more pages than they used to. And then the average duration, I would like to see it go up a little bit more, but I'm glad to see that it's unchanged because people are finding what they were looking for. So they're coming back more frequently. They're spending about the same amount of time. I think that's a win. So I'm pleased with what has been going on so far, and we'll continue to monitor it and make updates as appropriate. So happy to answer any questions about any of those things that I just reviewed.
Any questions? Let's say I think the range of groups that you're getting to see, and particularly the sort of high impact group, is really fantastic. And I love to see the continuation. I think one of the things that Connecticut has done distinctively well is really continued the drumbeat of the outreach and education work, even with the program that's online. I think a lot of programs do a push right when they're launching and then kind of let it drop. And we know that's not how workers interact with information. It's not how businesses interact with information. And so I think this really steady pace is really fantastic.
Thank you.
Anything else for Jessica? We'll come back to you in a minute, but we're going to turn it over to Nancy first.
Good morning, everyone. Let me just share my screen here. If I can. Up here for you. Can you see this? Okay.
Yes, we can.
So this morning, I just checked and we have 3,356 downloads, which was 3 more than yesterday, which I'm really happy about. And the topics that we are covering this month, it's Epilepsy Awareness Month and Family Caregiver Month. And I have released the Family Caregiving podcast, and my guest was Maya Baldwin. And the interesting thing about Maya, as Jessica mentioned, that we're really doing a wonderful partnership with Access Health. And I was down at in New Haven for one of the initial ones, and I met Maya. She came up to the table and she said, "I love you guys. I got to use you for caregiver leave." And I was really excited, and I called Jess and I was like, "We've got a caregiver." And so Maya agreed to do a podcast, and her story is really powerful. The reason she used caregiver leave was her sister was diagnosed with a recurrence of breast cancer, and she was also pregnant with twins at the time. Very confusing. It was really crazy. So she got to take all of the 12 weeks off at once. And she used it to go down to New Jersey and take care of her sister while she was giving birth and going through chemo treatments. So it was really powerful, and her story is wonderful. So if you want to go to the podcast and listen, she's just really good, and she has some great things to say about Connecticut paid leave. The next podcast that I will be releasing next Monday will be Living with Epilepsy. Monica Anzalone is the program director of the Epilepsy Foundation of Connecticut. And then I also spoke with James, who lives with epilepsy, and we talked about the challenges and how much time can he work? How much time away from work does he need if he has an exacerbation of his epilepsy? So that will be coming out this month. And then next month, we're focused is HIV/AIDS Awareness Month. And I'm going to speak with Casey Harding tomorrow. She's the director of the Center for Key Populations at Community Health Centers, Inc. And Maddie connected me. So it's always great when Maddie has great connections like she does. So I'm really excited to talk to Casey tomorrow. And tentatively, we are doing one on endometriosis and chronic illness. And we'll be talking to Representative Jillian Gilchrist from West Hartford. Of course, she is really a proponent and a big supporter of getting some laws passed, actually, on endometriosis. And some of the podcast guests that we're creating for their outreach was with Maya Baldwin, who I just talked about. Our PR firm actually did a release on caregiver leave, and she used two podcast guests, one from my AARP podcast and one with Maya Baldwin. The podcast on domestic violence and navigating the court system created some further in-person education. Erin and Jessica are going to go to Interval House and talk to some court advocates there. A podcast idea and conversations with ACT, which is Advancing Connecticut Together. They focus on HIV and AIDS. I think we're going to have a podcast with them during Pride Month. It also created an opportunity for further education to the regional Ryan White and housing case managers. And I believe Jessica is going to go to that one. And the podcast, it's great in some ways. This man, David Sergi, contacted me on LinkedIn after listening to one of my podcasts and was hoping to talk about his experiences because his wife is like a huge proponent of paid leave, but he also is a huge proponent as a dad talking about bonding leave. Their first child was born in Florida. They didn't have anything. They moved to Connecticut and they used Connecticut paid leave for bonding. And she took the first 3 months, he took the second 3 months, and he will be a guest on Father's Day, on a Father's Day podcast, talking about dad's experiences with Connecticut paid leave. And he's also agreed to be on a release. And I hope that I think Jessica's going to use him as a testimonial as well. And I just wanted to let you know where you can find the podcast, because some people ask me, like, we can go to your website, we know that, but this is where you can find the podcast. We use Buzzsprout as a platform, and then Buzzsprout kind of like spreads it to everywhere that you can listen to your podcasts. And of course, Apple's huge and Spotify is one of the biggest. And these are all of the areas that you can find. And if you're an Apple podcast user, these 5 other ones are included. So they just go right there automatically, which is Overcast, Castro, Castbox, Podfriend, and Good Pods. So that's where you can find the podcast. And you can also find the podcasts on our wonderful YouTube page, which let me see if I can just grab it and see if it's up there. Yeah. This is the YouTube page. And Jessica has made a playlist for the Paid Leave podcast. So we're putting it up on YouTube. And YouTube is a really big source of people listening to podcasts. It's one of the bigger ones. So we really felt that it was really important to have these up here on YouTube so people can listen. And this one was just up on Monday and we've already got 30 views. So I'm really happy about that. Jess did a great job with doing that. And if you have any questions, I am free to answer any of your questions.
I just wanted to add too, one thing that Nancy, that also came out of Nancy's connection with David, the gentleman who is indeed going to be in a testimonial video and has done all these things for us. He also, I'm not sure if he works there, but he has some sort of a connection with the Hospital for Special Care, and he has invited us to, or offered to connect us with their autism program so that we can get the information out to caregivers of autistic children who may need to take time off for, treatments or therapy or things of that nature.
Yeah, he's amazing.
Love to hear it. Any questions for Nancy? Okay, then I will throw it back to Jessica, who's going to talk about community outreach and the ambassador program.
And I'm actually going to bounce it over to Maddie. Maddie and I have been working really closely on this, and she really kind of took the ball and ran with it. So I asked her if she could share her thoughts on what we're going to do with this.
Okay, great. Thank you. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes, we
slide?
can see your
Yeah.
screen.
Okay, thanks. Thanks, Steph. Okay, great. Good morning, everyone. Yeah, so I will provide just a quick update on our community outreach and our, ideas for partnerships. So Molly, actually what you just mentioned a few minutes ago is a great segue for this conversation. So, how do I change sorry. Here we go. So we have been discussing as a team really how to organize our community outreach and our relationship building work, so that we're being strategic in really targeting specific, regions of the state, but also specific advocacy groups or groups that serve, specific populations of people that may need some extra education on paid leave. So beyond just, our initial, push about, this is the program, this is what we do, how are we really, filling in the gaps that might exist of people who may not know about us. So looking ahead, we're thinking of this work in 5 kind of tiers. Tiers is I don't really love that word, but like buckets of work. So the first is just our, basic community outreach. At our last meeting, Jessica mentioned that we're pulling together, a really comprehensive contact list that's broken down by region and area of expertise. We're still compiling that spreadsheet. It's pretty big, but we plan to use the spreadsheet to really determine where we want to focus our work and prioritize our outreach in the new year. We're going to meet as a team in December and really kind of flesh out where we're going to put some of our focus. So kind of along those lines of community outreach too, I'm also creating kind of a template email or, a call script for us to use in our work, so that, it's easy for us as a smaller team. But we're also trying to make it as easy as possible for the people that we're reaching out to by making kind of like a menu or a list of asks that organizations can use, to determine what might be best for their community or the people that they serve and how they can, do their own outreach on their own terms, honestly. So the second and third, and I'll come back to that in a minute too. So the second and third kind of buckets on this list too are similar. We're identifying, state agencies and different legislative commissions or potential legislative champions where there's overlap in our work and who can really, be helpful in our outreach work. And we're reaching out to them and also keeping, kind of track of who we've connected with and what programs they've helped us kind of provide information to, et cetera. Then the fourth and fifth buckets on this list, these are areas of our work that we're really still fleshing out, but we know that we want to prioritize in the coming year. So we're thinking through how to develop, even stronger relationships with community organizations, just beyond our basic outreach, and how to really be partners in this work and meet their needs so that they can help us meet ours, right? That could be by engaging them in regular updates through a newsletter or a Zoom call that we're hoping to start in 2024. And we're also thinking of, how do we take that one step further and provide, possibly funding or financial support to groups that do different outreach activities. An example could be, providing a grant or some type of contract with an organization that could provide, one-on-one application assistance with our support. But that's an idea that we are still thinking through, and thank you to folks on the call too that have kind of helped us in that process. So as I mentioned too, we're working on, a menu of asks to provide groups that we make outreach to. So our goal is to provide like a really easy, tangible, list of things that people who may be hearing about us for the first time can do to support our outreach work. So this is the menu that we've kind of drafted so far. It just starts pretty basic with sharing and distributing our information. Could be in different, letting us know what different languages that you need the information in, or if they prefer like hard copies of things or electronic. I also mentioned joining our community partner contact list, which we're developing to receive newsletters and then monthly invitations to Zoom calls, which we're hoping to begin in 2024. It could also look like coordinating an event with us, either in person or virtual, or scheduling a one-on-one meeting with our staff to kind of learn more about the program and you know, ask any questions that people may have. So if you see anything that's missing from this list, I'm, you know, very open to suggestions, and kind of talking further about it too. I'm also happy to share that we have a new resource available on our website, our community toolkit, which is designed to be kind of like a one-stop shop for advocates, organizers, et cetera, to really better understand the program and be able to assist people in their network to apply for benefits. To the right is a screenshot of the page of the toolkit. And then I've also included the flyer that we're hoping to print out and use at tabling events that so people, when they stop by our table, can just scan the QR code, and it'll take them to the toolkit, which we thought was more environmentally friendly than printing out a bunch of copies. So I've also updated the legislative toolkit for next year to include new screenshots from our website, and then we've also included some newer information too about the program. So you can find both of these resources on our website, and then you go to About Us and then scroll down to additional resources. So I also just want to touch on, you know, some events that we've hosted the past few months. We've discussed this before. We're coordinating kind of a library campaign, trying to host different information events at libraries across the state to really, you know, connect directly with people who might need some extra assistance applying for benefits or have, you know, really specific questions. So far, we've hosted events in Middletown, Hebron, West Haven, and Bloomfield was just earlier this week. We also have several library events planned coming up within the next month or so, and then in January. I have a flyer too with all of our upcoming dates that I can send around if people want to help us kind of spread the word about that. Overall, these events, I'll be honest, have had lower attendance than what we were hoping for. But almost everyone who's come has been in some type of immediate need for paid leave and have had like really specific questions, you know, about their own circumstance that we could answer for them, which I think confirms that like that there is a need for these types of events. For example, you know, some of the attendees that have come are, you know, it's been a lot of people who are about to have their first child, right? And have questions about that process. We also, you know, talked to a newly hired HR professional who's like the first ever HR person hired in her company. It's a small business. So she had a lot of questions. We also spoke with a woman whose husband is a sole proprietor, and he needs surgery in the near future. So she had questions about, you know, whether or not he should opt in as a sole proprietor. The answer was yes. So we kind of provided guidance on that as well. So yeah, definitely lower attendance, but I think the content it's been really, I think, worth it for the conversations that we've had with folks. And Jessica, correct me if I'm wrong, but yeah.
No, absolutely agree. I mean, everyone that we've spoken to has, like Maddie said, really been in the moment of needing our services. So I think it was really good that we could, you know, be there to help them and answer those questions, and also be a contact for them if they had any concerns as they were going through the process.
Yes. I think I'll stop there for questions, and then I think you come back to me, but yeah.
Thanks, Maddie. I did have one question. So for the library events, the ones that are in person, are you leaving materials as well at the end?
Yes. So we've been leaving our infographics, and then we also have a flyer that has like tear-offs of our website information that we've been leaving too, and it's in English and Spanish. So
that's great, because that's another, like, even if you're having smaller attendance at the events, like that's an additional touch point. You're continuing to highlight the libraries as resources. So it's sort of extra bang for the buck. Other questions for Maddie? Okay, then I will turn it to also Maddie for our legislative update.
Okay. Okay.
You can see your screen.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Sorry, I always get like I never know how to change the slide on sometimes. So, okay. Okay, so I also just have a very quick legislative update. I wanted to share that at the end of October, we submitted a statement regarding the Federal Senate Finance Committee's hearing, Exploring Paid Leave, Policy, Practice, and Impact on the Workforce. Our statement just included like a basic overview of Connecticut paid leave, and where we've been, where we're going with the program. Also included a few testimonials and just our general support for a federal policy. We shared the statement with Senator Murphy and Senator Blumenthal's offices, which led to scheduling meetings with their teams to share an update on how things are going, which is always good. Erin presented to the endometriosis working group on Monday, led by Representative Jillian Gilchrist, Nancy mentioned. It was a great conversation talking about, chronic paid leave for chronic illnesses, and answered a lot of good questions there too. And Representative Gilchrist is also working on an op-ed about endometriosis and the importance of paid leave and dealing with chronic illnesses. Also wanted to just share that our November newsletter was distributed on November 2nd, earlier this month. It included upcoming events, our library campaign. I also continue to share like upcoming library events with local legislators as they're happening so they can share with their newsletters. And it also included like an updated usage map by town so people can see how many people are using paid leave in their specific districts. So our open rate was around 36% and our click rate was 14-ish%, which it could be better. So we're working on some ways to improve, I think, the newsletter moving forward. So yeah. That's all I have.
And I'll add, I don't think Maddie even knows this because I just got the email, but someone who is part of an endometriosis support group reached out and asked if we would come to the group and present information about how paid leave can be used for folks who have that condition. So that's another thing that came out of that endometriosis working group presentation.
Wonderful. Any questions for Maddie? Okay. Well, thank you so much for all of that excellent work. And it's always great to hear Connecticut being lifted up on the national stage, as it should be. Any old business anyone would like to raise? Any new business anyone would like to raise? Okay. I believe we no longer have a quorum because we lost Justin. So we're not going to vote to adjourn. We're just going to adjourn. So thank you so much, everybody, for joining us, and we'll see you next month.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Yes, happy Thanksgiving.
Bye.